Hello and welcome back to the weekend spread. And folks, we're at the season finale, championship week in college football, and it is all on the line. Okay, well, maybe not for the actual games, but for the weekend spread punishment. Oh, it's getting intense. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we got Jamison Maxwell, who, hey, and by all means and accounts, actually won the competition this year. And then
let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm still 4 games ahead, so things could get crazy.
It could be a disaster, but for the most part. Then we got Ty Lee and Bowden Blake as usual. So before we get started, boys, let's take a gander at the leaderboard presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Jamison sitting at 75 and 63, with Blake behind at 71 63. Ooh, that was wrong. 75. Jameson has 59 losses. He only has 59 losses. Blake is 71 and 63. And then me and Ty are tied at 68 and 66. Everything's on the table. If you finish last, you are subjected to the fearsome 999 challenge. I know I'm nervous about it. Ty, you and I tied going into the final week. Are you feeling the pressure as much as I am?
Did you ask me?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I was sneezing, so I couldn't hear. You guys couldn't hear. Bad podcast. You guys couldn't hear that I was sneezing because I was on mute. But for those listening in, not watching the video, I was sneezing. No, I'm not. That's why you can hear me talking.
Great.
I'm
great
feeling
analysis,
good.
Ty,
We got screwed over. Yeah, that's. I mean, we're experts at this stuff. We do the analysis. Jameson and I got screwed over last week. The Oregon Ducks just inexplicable performance, and then of course the Sooners followed it up with like the exact same performance. So doubly painful weekend for me in terms of the spread. But I had some good bold picks. We got some stuff right. We got the Egg Bowl right. That was great. And then I don't want to say that I got USC over Notre Dame right, because everyone else in the world besides Bobby saw that one coming 1,000 miles away. But, you got to do what you got to do when you're down here at the bottom fighting for your life. So I feel good about this week coming in, and I have a team on the slate that I know is going to be the one that saves me, so I'm not too worried.
Well, Blake, I will say, like with Oregon State, we knew that was going to be spooky. It's always spooky in Corvallis, and that might have been the most Oregon State way to win the not Civil War. What did they call it? The Platte? That is the most Oregon State way to win a Platte I've ever seen.
It was. Bobby knew all along. Spooky Bees were going to come out to play. And the one thing I do know for sure is Pac-12 play always does the worst thing for the team that really needs it. Could we see that this weekend? USC finally, Pac-12 getting, I think, a playoff berth the first time since, is it Washington or Oregon? One of those. It's been a hot second. But could Utah just play spoiler?
Well, it was Washington that one year they randomly made it.
Oh, Washington made it a year?
Oh, yeah. They made it in 2016, I think. Yeah. It was... yeah, I think you're
I thought the last one was Oregon, but okay.
Yeah, only 2 teams, though, which is pretty wild. But, yeah, it would be a pretty big deal for the Pac-12. And look, some people are saying that USC could even make it if they lose this weekend. I'm not so sure about that one. But Jameson, as the champ... presumptively, it would take a massive collapse, which will definitely not happen. And I'm definitely not trying to jinx you. But how are you feeling on top right now? You're more safe than the rest of us. How are you feeling?
As long as I don't pick 7 different games than you or Ty, or I guess both you and Ty, I'm safe from the 999. So
I want to go for the win, though. Go for the win.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I could obviously dodge y'all, and statistically, it's probably a very low chance that I have 7 different than both of y'all. But I haven't had this opportunity to be above 500 in my career picks for my whole time on the Schooner Pod. I was obviously a very poor player in the past, but now, since I'm 16 games above, that puts me right at 500. So I need to get a winning record this week and go in with above 500 record all time.
Yeah, that'd be pretty big. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're picking every single conference championship, from the MAC to the SEC, from the Big 12 to the Conference USA, we're doing all of them. So if you guys just want to skip to the Power 5 ones, we'll put a timestamp there. Or if you're watching
Don't do
live,
that.
just kind of wait. I don't know. Just listen. So anyways, let's get on with the start here. We've got North Texas and UTSA in the Conference USA Championship. This match going down at the Alamo Dome, home of the UTSA Roadrunners, who are favored by 9. Jameson, you, as the leader here, started off, then Blake, then Ty, then me. Who do you like here?
Both these teams have been pretty disappointing as of late. UTSA really toyed around with UTEP last week. They were down early and big, and they came back and won. And the last time they played North Texas, they only won by 4. I think 9 points is a lot here. It really is. Just for two teams that just kind of can't get it together, I think it could be sloppy and you keep it within 9 points. So I'm going to pick North Texas.
Blake?
Yeah, I hate to do this because we've talked about that ugly green on green, lime green with neon green Texas flag that they fly so proudly in between of Dallas and Fort Worth junction of I-35. It stinks, but Jameson said it perfectly. 9 points is way too much in a matchup, and I got just a little statistic to start off this this championship season, just because some of these matchups we have seen before in conference play, and I feel like a lot of people are sometimes spooked about whether, a team's beaten them once before, can they beat them again? Since 2005, against the spread, it's 22-22 versus teams that have played each other before. So you're seeing that most of the times, like, the results aren't changing as much as you think. There's not really an edge either side, one way or the other, but the one thing is for sure, the team who lost the first time, 2/3 of those improved their score by close to 5 or 6 points. So that is, you want to think about that when making these picks. I'm taking UNT. The game was close the first time. They can outright win this. 9 points versus a UTSA squad who's been very good. Frank Harris should have been up for some of those quarterback awards, but I just think this could get weird. This game could get wild. I'm taking the mean green.
Ty?
Yeah, Blake with some analysis. So bad it made Jameson leave until he saw that I was coming back on.
It's facts.
And that's not fact. It's like astrology level. Like, you're comparing stats from, like, completely different teams, completely different seasons. Like, oh, well, this occurred. Like, that is.
Yeah, but some people get caught.
It's ridiculous.
Some people get caught in the narratives that it's like, it's way too hard to beat a team twice, or like they only choose because of that. There's basically like no statistical difference either which way. Like, it shouldn't scare people off that two teams have faced before either which way. You should just choose how you think the game is gonna like be straight up.
Which brings me to my second point. Blake's analysis had nothing to do with his pick because he was picking the underdog either way. I have long been on the North Texas. I think maybe we picked them week 0, but I've long been on the North Texas train. They've been pretty good against the spread, and that's because they got a quarterback with some experience. Does he have football experience? Up for debate, but he's got life experience. My man is 30 years old, out here playing quarterback against these Gen Z kids, and he has a thing or two to teach them, I suppose. So I think UNT has a big advantage in this one because their quarterback right now preparing for the game, a game that they've played once this season already, like we talked about, and it wasn't that far off. UNT, whatever, UTEP, whatever 4-letter Texas school they're playing is not going to be able to put them away by 9 because their players are all making TikToks and whatever else the kids do nowadays instead of preparing for this game. So give me the mean green once again to get the cover here in this one.
Yeah, no, this is a sweep. Look, North Texas and UNT had a banger of a game when they last played. 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and UTSA pulled away with 15 seconds left. So these two teams know each other well. They play each other well. 9 points is honestly a little egregious. I think people are just riding off of that big UTSA record. Last time they lost, I believe, was Texas. So, I think this one's a little inflated here. Give me the mean green to get a cover at the Alamo Dome. I expect this one to be a pretty fun one.
Oh, we better not go chalk this whole episode. We need to get some parity. We need some parity.
Look, I didn't pick that one because I was trying to because I'm trying to be safe. I just think North Texas has a cover. So let's move on to our next game, the MAC championship game. It's Toledo -1.5 against the Ohio Bobcats. I'm looking forward to what Blake has to say about this because he has a whole lot riding on the line here in terms of futures. So I'll get it kicked off. You know, when you see a line shift like this line opened up at 4 and has been bet all the way down to 1.5. You kind of want to ride with it. So I'm going to ride with the Ohio Bobcats here to get the win in the MAC championship and take out Toledo. The MAC title is always a toss up. You never really know who's going to come out on top, but I like the Bobcats here. The bettors seem to be pretty big on them as well. I believe there was even an AP vote for them in the top 25. So yeah, I'm rolling with Ohio.
Yeah, I'm certain that we're going to differ later on in the episode, but I also have Ohio in this one. Some things that have led me to this decision. Like Bobby said, I saw that line moving. That was a lesson that I learned last week to pay attention to. I know where Ohio is. And I think a Bobcat is a cooler mascot than I think that's one of those like pool torpedoes that Toledo has. And I don't know where Toledo is. So give me the Ohio Bobcats plus 1.5. That's what 0.5 means. It's a half if you converted it to a fraction. So give me Ohio.
There you go. Blake, who do you like?
Hate to keep it chalk, but Bobby alluded to it. I am riding a Ohio plus 1600 future to win the MAC. I always, every single year, I choose just somebody towards the bottom of the odds pool for the MAC. And the last 2 years, they both made the championship game. That is how unpredictable this conference is. That's why everybody loves MACtion, just because you don't know what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis. But I also pulled a Bobby in this one. I felt confident going into this game. I see the 1.5, and I was like, oh, Ohio, you're giving me Curtis Rourke, probably the best G5 quarterback that's going to get a lot of P5 looks next year, probably going to enter the transfer portal. He's been excellent for Ohio. I was like, this one's easy. Didn't realize he was out with a season-ending injury last week, and now I am sweating it a little bit. This guy, CJ Harris, coming in, had a decent game against Bowling Green, but Bowling Green sucks. Like, they're bottom of the MAC. It has me a little bit worried, but Ohio's winning, not just because of Curtis Rourke, but their defense has been excellent, especially against the run. Toledo's pretty balanced on offense. They could throw, they could pass, but I just like the ability that Ohio can take away one facet of the game. Hopefully this second stringer comes in, lights it up enough. I'm not going to hedge. There's no way I'm hedging out of this. I've made it this far with Ohio. I'm back in the Bobcats, and just pray the injury of Curtis Rourke doesn't come back to bite me.
Jameson?
You've got that many assets, but you weren't even paying attention to the Bowling Green game. I watched that from start to finish, and I was glued to the TV. Did I have the C.A. Bangura under on that game for rushing yards? Yes, and that's why I watched it the whole time. But I got to really watch a lot of Ohio's quarterback and C.J. Harris as the backup. It seems like in the early part of the game, they really weren't too confident with their play calling. They weren't giving him any passing. They just made him run. He's a dual-threat quarterback. But he made a lot of really good plays, and he started to gain some swagger throughout that game. And Bangura, the running back's really, really good too. And he had a very poor game versus a Bowling Green team that, when you say they're not the best, but they got a pretty good rush defense from what I saw. I think Bangura, if they can control the game and CJ Harris makes a couple of those swagger plays that I saw last week, I don't know why Ohio isn't favored.
So you're going with Ohio?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to our next matchup. It's the Mountain West Championship. Boise State favored by 3 at home on the blue turf. This matchup we've seen before and honestly has decided this thing, this weekend spread a couple times. So don't sleep on the Mountain West title. Jameson, kick us off here. Do you like the Broncos to defend the blue?
Wait, see, that's to defend the blue. I don't get it.
It sounded like a Walmart version of a different slogan. Go ahead, Jameson.
Okay. Oh, okay. I gotcha. All right. So, I feel like if this was on a neutral field, it'd be Fresno State all day. I'm not even worrying about it. I like Jake Haener, and they've been playing way better as of lately. And I feel like Boise State just hasn't really impressed me too much this year, to be honest with you. I feel like they've kind of had some big wins and teams they're again supposed to play, but they've had a lot of close games. I feel like they didn't really end the season as strong as they could have either. I just like the way Fresno's momentum has, and I understand that at Boise, but I think I'll take Fresno with a field goal here.
Blake?
Honestly, against Jameson, I think Fresno's been impressive, but I think Boise has also been very impressive. They came off with a really slow start. They had the loss to Oregon State at Oregon State, but then losing at UTEP, which is just disgraceful. Fired their offensive coordinator, and really they've been clicking ever since. Hank Bachmeier's gone. He's entered the transfer portal. He must have really loved his offensive coordinator because he basically just gave over this job to this Taylon Green guy who's been shredding it up. He's a little bit more of a dual threat guy. He has some wheels, can run, and honestly, they've looked really impressive. They've already beaten Fresno State by 20 on their home field. The only loss they have is BYU, which we know is super temperamental, as we picked them feel like 3 or 4 times this season. I'm really impressed with Boise, especially on the blue turf. I do agree, this line's probably pretty perfect. That neutral site, you're going to give it a pick'em, just because these teams have had very similar arcs. But the one thing I just think is going to be different about this is just Boise State can run the ball down your throat. And Fresno has a pretty decent run defense, but the 3 teams that they played that can really run the ball, UNLV, Boise State, USC, just all gashed them. And I know they played them once. I know they can kind of develop a game plan around that, but still, I just think Boise has too much with the quarterback, their running back stable. I just don't trust Fresno's rush defense enough to go with them in this road situation. So give me the Boise State Broncos.
Ty?
I am with Blake on this one. You look at they've matched up previously, and Blake and I sort of had our little discussion on, it's harder to beat a team the second time, which is how I've always interpreted that. Is it is harder, which doesn't always mean that you lose. It can sometimes mean that the point differential is a little less. I don't think they're going to beat them by 20 again. Boise beating Fresno State by 20 again. But I like -3 for Boise. They sort of have it figured out, and certainly they can, both teams are going to be adjusting and coming in with a lot of motivation into this one. But I feel really good about Boise -3 against a team that they've already beaten by 20. Obviously that was, a bit of a fluke if they're meeting up again in a conference championship game, but I'd feel pretty differently if that past game was close. But I like the Broncos in this one.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very narrow game because both teams have really, they've been since their last meeting, only one team has lost since then, and it was Boise narrowly losing to BYU at home. So in terms of how these teams, both of these teams have just been on an absolute hot streak. But you know what? I'm counting on a little bit of Haener magic here. I feel like we've seen Fresno go in, beat Boise on the blue, get things a little weird. Give me Fresno +3. This, I know it might be my undoing, but I'm going to put it all on my guy Jake Haener. Why not?
I feel so less confident in this pick now after Bobby did that.
I love it. I love it.
That could be a major deciding thing. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I'm feeling spicy. I'm going to roll the dice here a little bit. See what we got. So
good. Some parity. Actually,
Yes.
you know what? I should have been cheering for Ty and Bobby just to go even, so we can get 2 people doing the 999 challenge. They have one difference. They have one difference right now. So if they end with an even number difference, there's a chance.
This literally could decide it. This literally could decide.
The way it's been going for Bobby and I, we're liable to have 3 differences by the time the episode is done. And then for some freak reason, one of the games will get canceled, and then we'll go 50-50. That's how we've been going. Yeah, it'll push.
Game's a push.
We'll get a DNP or something on
I didn't take into account the push. Oh man, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
so
Well, it's just
pushy. I could see this
we
being a
have not
push.
been able to separate at all. It's been crazy because you go back and look the past a month or so. I'd say we have a ton of different picks. I mean, we've been constantly zigzagging each other, and we're both just like 500. Like
Yeah, we just
I
can't.
said this earlier. Like if I tried to throw the competition, I'd still be like right at 500 because I can only accurately predict half of them. So I'd still be half right, half wrong. Even try to throw the games.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to our next game, the Sun Belt Championship. The Troy Trojans favored by 8.5 at home against the the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, which honestly shouldn't be there. It should be James Madison in this position, but they're, I guess, not eligible for the postseason, so that's kind of garbage. Look, I made this mistake earlier in the past, forgetting about Grayson McCall getting hurt. I'm not going to make it again, Troy. And I've also faded Troy. That bit me in the ass. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roll with Troy, fade Coastal Carolina, and take my win. 8.5 seems very fair for me here. I think Troy really uncorks it on the Chanticleers. Ty?
I actually thought that Bobby was going to go with a homer take on this one, and this would be the one that would save me. But I am also going with Troy here. I mean, I'm a known Coastal Carolina hater. They don't deserve any respect in football, certainly, and they have a weirdly colored field. And every time you turn it on, it makes you think that the field is blue, but your TV is broken. Jameson knew it was coming.
I was
It
just waiting. It's so funny at the end of each season that whenever I see a team on the slate, I'm like, I know what Ty's gonna say. I already know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
The Myrtle Beach Bowl.
We've got the same bits baked in. But yeah, I like Troy in this one. I don't know anything about either team. I didn't even research this one. This is a pure hater pick. So it's good to hear from Bobby's analysis that there is some meat to this. But I'm going with the Troy Trojans, something like that.
A little redundant, but
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I don't.
Like,
I legitimately do not know what this team is called. That
they're the Trojans.
They're the
know.
Trojans. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the Troy Trojans
usually-
is very redundant. Yeah.
I thought he was just gonna say the Spartans or something, but I'm very proud of you, Ty, for getting.
No,
the
I
mascot
straight
right.
up do know. I'm sure I know, like subconsciously, but I didn't know, and I just made a guess based on the logo. You know,
He's trying to keep it 300 like the Romans. Blake, who do you like here?
I thought you casuals were going to go with Coastal Carolina, and I would get a nice steal here. This is probably one of my more confident picks of the week. I love Troy. Troy's kind of been a team that's gone under the radar in the Sun Belt Conference this year, just because we've had the likes of Appalachian State upset Texas A&M to put them on the front. James Madison coming off with a heater, kind of slowed down, heated back up, but can't make the postseason. Grayson McCall, when he was going with the Chanticleers, honestly, were fantastic, and then they just haven't been the same since he left. And this really isn't a Grayson, it partly is, Grayson McCall not playing in this game influences this heavily, but, you can see by the line, 8.5, it's obviously baked in, but their backup, this Jarrett Guest guy, can't really throw the ball very well. That's kind of what gave this Chanticleer offense a dynamic edge with McCall, is the fact he's such a good runner. He's such a good thrower. He can command kind of these RPO. It's an option system, but more modernized, and that's what I love about it. But if this guy can't pass, you're going up against a Troy defense who is fantastic, and fantastic specifically against the run. If they're just running all their RPO type stuff, there's not really many passes going on by the Chanticleers. I think Troy wraps this one up. If you're just looking down the sheet, they had 8 or 9 games that they held their opponents under 100 rushing yards. This Troy defense is legit. They have a decent, a good enough offense to win them this game, but that defense is excellent. There's no way I'm not backing Troy here, just because we could see the Teal Chickens just not put up any points.
Fair enough. Jameson, who you got?
Easiest pick on the slate. It's Troy. Coastal Carolina lost by 40 to James Madison last week. This team is in shambles. They obviously lost their leader, their best player, and now they're just crumbling. I just don't see any scenario how Troy is not going to put up more than 9 points. Win by more than 9 points versus them. Coastal Carolina has score 10 points tops. It's going to be ugly.
It should be also noted this game is, in fact, in Troy, as the Sun Belt carries the same, kind of home sort of deal. So, yeah, everyone on the Trojans to capture one of their first Sun Belt championships in a long while. Next up, we have a rematch of a game we saw earlier back at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Tulane Green Wave, favored by Tree Fitty, 3.5 against UCF. Now, back in, I believe, week 10 or week 9, had this exact same matchup. It was week 9, exact same matchup. UCF was favored, it was recently. Tulane was favored by 1.5. They lost at home. So what's going on here, Jameson? Why are the Green Wave favored? Do you think are you buying the wave this time?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I like the way that Tulane's been playing as of late compared to UCF. That UCF for South Florida game last week just left a weird taste in my mouth. They were just giving it away to one of the worst teams in college football, and that just seemed weird. Like, I don't know if they were just looking ahead, but it just seemed very undisciplined for me, and I just can't get by it. I was picking UCF, and I felt good about it, and I think I might have been on an island in the original pick whenever it was 1.5 point dogs. But I think I'm going to switch. Okay, you were with me. I just don't like this momentum that UCF has. It just makes me feel weird. I just like the way that Tulane's playing football right now. I'm going to take Tulane 3.5.
Blake?
It does make me a little bit nervous that this is a true carbon copy game. It's not like we're meeting at a neutral site. We are seeing this game repeat. I'm going to do it again. I'm going UCF. I think John Reese Plumlee, he is a menace, and we kind of saw that the first time against Tulane, that when you got a guy that can pass a decent amount, but he's a fantastic runner, was wrecking hell on that Tulane defense, and at halftime they were up by 10, ended up winning, I believe, by 7 or 8. I feel like this game's going to be close, but 3.5 with that hook, that's a little too dangerous to me. I know UCF can get up for these big games. They didn't get up against Navy, kind of a tough, the Service Academy's games are always going to be tough if you're not prepared for that triple option. And then the USF one, yikes. But I feel good enough about this UCF squad that they can keep it close and even within a field goal. Not super confident, but I just like the quarterback play better from the Golden Knights. So give me the Golden Knights.
Ty.
This is another really, really tough one because, again, we've talked about these games that are matchups that have already occurred. This one is sort of the first one that was a really close game that we've discussed, or a closer game. I'm a big hater of UCF. We've talked about this before. You can't just unilaterally declare yourself the national champions and then go to Disneyland and say, like, oh, yeah, like, we had a parade at Disney, therefore we're the national champions. Like, Mickey Mouse has a parade at Disney 4 times a day. He's not claiming any national championships. So I have a big problem with things that UCF claim. They claim that they own space. They have not produced a single astronaut from their undergrad program ever. And they say that they're space university because their campus is an hour or so, depending on traffic, away from one of NASA's launch sites, not even really their primary one anymore. It's just like the list goes on and on. It's absurd. But Tulane, nobody should ever pick Tulane because where's Tulane? Say it with me, Louisiana. So let's go with the UCF Knights to get the cover in this one.
I love it.
All
it's
right.
the classic tie pick where it's like all bad things about UCF at the last thing, but Louisiana way worse.
just because it's Louisiana. Well, once again, I'm actually rolling with Jameson here. Give me Tulane minus 3.5 here. Look, yeah, obviously this game was played out. Tulane lost by a touchdown. But what has happened to UCF since then? A loss to Navy, who is not good, and then a narrow, very, very tight win against South Florida, who has been abysmal in the American this year. I think Tulane gets it right, resets it, and is galvanized by Willie Fritz turning down the Georgia Tech job. Give me the Green Wave minus 3.5, for a place in the New Year Six. So that's all we have for the the group of five. Let's move on to the Power Five now. We're starting out with the Michigan Wolverines, fresh off an Ohio State victory, massive win in the shoe, -17 against the Purdue Boilermakers, who have somehow ended up in the Big Ten championship, probably by default. I have no idea. Looking at Purdue, Pete, it might also be by bribery. But anyways, Michigan's favored by 17. And look, I'm looking at this as Michigan has done all they need to do. They're in the playoff. And my thing is, I think they're going to take it easy. And I think Purdue is going to creep up, maybe not make it interesting, but I think they cover. Give me Purdue +17. I think Michigan, they're going to rest Corum. They're going to rest a guy with no thumbs, and they're going to take it easy. Purdue's going to reach up and get that cover. I believe in Purdue, Pete. So give me the Boilermakers +17, but Michigan gets the win.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just seen is one of the most successful psychological operations of all time. I can't say that I saw Purdue getting into the Big Ten championship, and I am sympathetic to Purdue, but for about the past week or so, when it became evident that Purdue was maybe going to the Big Ten championship, and this might come down to the wire, I began to plant the seeds and make people think that Purdue is maybe a little bit better than they are and that I was going to pick them. I'm not. I'm picking the Wolverines in this one. And I've been saying that Purdue was going to be the team that was going to save me, and they have, in getting Bobby to pick them. And to Purdue's credit, because like I said, I am sympathetic to Purdue. They have so much more to play for because Michigan, like Bobby said, there is that angle of like, hey, let's rest on our laurels. And Purdue has that chance to fly way above their station. And we've all seen Purdue big upsets against teams before, not Michigan, but Ohio State. I'm sure they've upset other people in the past, but that's like the one that comes to mind for me right away. So Purdue does have a lot to play for, and there is high. This is a crazy, crazy line. Purdue has high potential, but I just think Michigan is a lot better. So give me the Michigan Wolverines in this one, -17. Take home the Big Ten championship, lock up a spot in the college football playoff. Although they don't really have that difficult of a schedule, Purdue might be the best team that they've played all year because they at least made it to their conference championship game. So I don't want to hear it from Ohio State fans, because if Ohio State was good, why aren't they in their conference championship game? So give me the Wolverines -17 in this one. Go Big Blue.
Blake?
Bobby's the sheep here. Give me Michigan. I thought this one was a lot easier than Bobby's trying to confuse people, and I know he's probably buying into all that social media hype. He sees those Jeff Brom is 3-0 versus top 2 or 3 teams or whatever it is. He's buying that. Lightning doesn't strike that many times. Like, it's great that he did it, but Purdue is not going to beat Michigan. I think this game's a blowout. I don't care if Blake Corum plays. We saw a similar game last year where Iowa, we think Iowa, good defense. Iowa was actually pretty decent last year. At one point, I think they were ranked number 2, number 1. Like, Iowa got up there in the rankings last year.
Iowa was number 1 last year, Blake?
Or they were like 2 or 3. They were high.
No, they were up there, yeah. Because they had that.
Yeah, I think they were like 2 or 3, but yeah.
They had like that top 4 matchup with Penn State.
Yeah. So they were really high up there. A good Iowa squad, and Michigan routed them 42-3. I don't think there's a quit factor, especially with a Jim Harbaugh type team who I just feel like is constantly trying to beat everybody for giving him so much crap over the last few years of not being a good coach. I don't see them really falling flat here. I think it's a rout. I think this might be Bobby's demise. I don't think Purdue, they don't have much of a rush defense. They don't have very good special teams. They don't really have good of anything. People just point back to the history of when I think the 3 times they won it, it's been mostly at home too. At a neutral site, this just feels like a Michigan whomping. Give me the Wolverines. I think this one's fairly easy. Oh, I love that Bobby took the bait. I love it. I was hoping Ty would take the bait too, but at least I got
points.
I was the one chumming the water, though. You should have known that I wasn't going to take the bait. You've been seeing the text for the past 2 weeks with the little P emoji talking about how they're going to be the team that saves me.
Fair enough. Jameson?
Michigan's going to stomp them, even if Blake Corum is resting a bit, which I don't really think might be in their best interest with him coming through an ankle injury where he played a little bit last week and decided to set it out more to Donovan Edwards, who's an extremely competent running back, very talented. And if he was the RB1 for them coming in versus Purdue, I feel very similar to how I feel right now. But I think they want to instill a little bit of confidence in him, get him running and get back into that vibe. To where going into a possible assuming they win, which they will, into a CFP game, that he will feel confident and do well whenever he faces, will it be TCU? We'll have to find out a little bit later. But
It'll be
I think
Alabama.
I think Purdue is just kind of just the way they've been playing is just embarrassing. You notice this kind of trend with this. I always kind of like to pick with momentum here at the end of the year. And Purdue only beat Indiana by 14. Gross. Only beat Northwestern by 8. Gross. Lost 24-3 to Iowa. Next, I'm going to pick Michigan in a big one.
All right. Everyone back on Michigan there. So that's fine. Big game. Pressure makes diamonds. So let's move on to our next game, the Pac-12 championship. This one coming on a Friday. It's the Utah Utes against the USC Trojans. Trojans favored by 3. The matchup they lost earlier this season on the road in Utah, but this is different. It's in Vegas. California residents are buying these tickets in droves. Jameson, you think things change this time or more of the same?
I think USC wins this football game and punches their ticket to the college football playoffs. This could be a push, but I'm going to pick the USC side of things here. I think Caleb Williams is just too damn good. Us as Sooner fans, I mean, we knew what we lost whenever he hit the transfer portal. People tried to play revisionist history, saying, good, if you don't want to be a Sooner, we don't want you here. But the real thing with it is this kid is one of the most talented kids we've had come through OU in recent memory. He just extend plays like Kyler Murray, and he's powerful and just got an extremely accurate arm. He's just a playmaker. And out on the big stage, I won't be surprised at all if he goes and makes a couple of Heisman-like plays and solidifies him on the podium. So I'm going to pick USC.
Blake?
Yep, I'm going with Jameson. I have a Utah to win the Pac-12 future, and I would feel really more confident about this, but Cam Rising has just been banged up. Like, ever since kind of that Washington State game where he didn't play and was like the weird late game scratch, he hasn't looked the same. And if you look back to that first Utah-USC game, he was gashing them through the air. He was the leading rusher for Utah. Like, his legs are really important, especially against USC. And Utah's defense is just uncharacteristically just not good this year. And that scares me whenever you have Cam Rising a little bit banged up, not at 100%, when they beat him by 1 on a 2-point conversion and had all the juice in the world after honoring 2 of their teammates who passed. Like, all that juju got him a 1-point win at home. And that was with a great Cam Rising game. I think USC has turned it on. They had probably their hardest stretch of games in the last month and have impressed me. They've been really good, not defensively, like we saw against UCLA. UCLA didn't particularly have a great game and still kept it close, which always concerns me just with USC as a favorite. But Caleb Williams truly is that guy. If he has a decent game this weekend, he wins the Heisman. He's been incredible. Teams are going to be tanking for him next year. He's probably the closest, like just watching him stylistically, the closest quarterback we have to Mahomes besides Mahomes. He just is fantastic. Fantastic.
He's more athletic than Mahomes, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not as good of a passer, but I don't think you can really compare the two because the way Caleb Williams runs the ball is so potent compared to Patrick Mahomes.
Here's the thing. Caleb Williams is the system. He's not a system QB like Patrick Mahomes. He's not a go 6-6 all the time in college, and then your college thinks you're the greatest ever because you produced a 500 season. Caleb Williams is not that guy. Caleb Williams, he'll give you we'll put it in Caleb Williams terms. He will give you as many wins as there are toes.
Oh,
10 wins.
Uh-oh.
So you're
Wait.
projecting them to lose then?
Yes,
Because
No,
there's
at least
10
I'll give you
toes
at
and
least
they
10.
have 10 wins.
Well, he always loved more. The more toes, the merrier. If you ask Caleb Williams.
So are you saying USC goes for a freak toe here?
Wait, Blake, are you picking
I was
USC? I
laughing.
kind of
What's your
want to
yeah,
talk
Blake,
Yes,
about
I
this.
was USC. I'm all over
Yeah.
USC. I am all over. I'm all
Ty,
over that. I want that. I want that USC.
Ty, I couldn't tell if we were on your analysis or not for this. What would you?
No,
what,
that was
your pick?
riffing off Blake's. Here's mine, and I want to keep the USC sort of hype to a minimum because obviously it's still a sensitive subject for Sooner fans, and I understand that it's the same for me. But USC has been a tremendous just moneymaker if you've been gambling with them, not just on their money line or their spreads, but a lot of the individual stuff too. And here's the thing is I felt like I've really known this USC team because it really is just a Lincoln Riley team. I think at this point, if you're a Sooner fan, you know what you're going to get from Lincoln Riley. And when I look at USC, I've watched most of their games this year. I was not surprised really by any of them. They felt like Lincoln Riley games, familiar quarterback, familiar defensive coordinator, and one of the familiar receivers. And what do we know about Lincoln Riley in rematches for the conference championship? Give me the Trojans -3 in this one. I don't think that they necessarily go crazy with it, but I think that they comfortably cover in this one. Lock up the Pac-12. I think Caleb Williams, it's plural, puts the exclamation point on his Heisman resume, and I think he all but locks it up.
Well, look, I gotta say, on this show,
He's such a
on
hater. Bobby's such a
on the
hater.
Schooner Pod,
Bobby's a hater.
on my work with Multiplicity Media on the Weekenders, I've been nothing but hating on USC the whole way. And as Blake knows, a good captain goes down with the ship.
Oh my
I think
God.
Utah's going to cover 3. I think they find a way to win here.
Oh, no,
USC
Bobby. Oh, no.
Bobby is just gonna be bathing in hot dogs.
I'm you gotta
Bobby, are
be
you throwing
bold.
competition?
Ty's
You gotta
being
be
gifted
bold.
right here.
You gotta
Ty
be
is being
bold.
gifted.
But I did not pay
As-
Bobby off. You could run the bank transaction.
As Matt Damon said on that Bitcoin commercial, fortune favors the bold. And how did it turn out for those people?
But why
Okay,
would
not
this
so
one?
great. Not a good example. But here's my thing about USC. They've skated by against UCLA. They skated, and I'm just saying, every time they play good opponents, it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. I do not like them as a favorite here. They ducked the smoke with Washington. They ducked the smoke with Oregon because of their favorable schedule. They barely got by the Spooky Beavers. And look, if you watch that Notre Dame game, which I assume most of y'all didn't because of the OU game, the Irish gifted it to them. Flat out gifted it to them. I think Utah, feeling spurned, chip on their shoulder. Everyone's talking about Caleb and USC. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end for the Utes, has a killer game once again. Give me the Utah Utes +3. I'm going down in a blaze of glory, damn it.
Oh my God.
I'm not going out meek.
No, Bobby, you will not be thinking about this whenever you're not gonna feel good when you're having that 6 glizzy going down your throat.
We'll see how it goes.
You know
We'll
what?
see how
At
it
least I
goes.
went down with the ship. You will not be
Looking-
saying that.
Do
You'll
you
be
wanna know-
cursing Utah.
Do you want to know how bad Bobby botched this? He said fortune favors the bold, which it's fortune favors the brave. And then he said as a Bitcoin commercial, it's for crypto.com, double botched. Like this is his arguments.
Again, it was a joke. It was a, well, I know, like I said, that was a joke. And I was like, it worked out great for those people, I'm sure. And it did. So I'm very aware of this. I'm zigging and zagging. I'm going all over the place. Give me Utah. Give me Utah.
Bobby,
I will
Bobby
say,
and Ty have now have 4 different picks from each other.
Yeah, looking back, I'm not really sure why I went with UCF. I just kind of got in a train of thought and then remembered Louisiana. So I think Bobby may have me certainly on that. I think Tulane gets the cover in that one in retrospect. So we will. I don't think it's over yet.
We'll see how it goes. But let's move on to our next game, the ACC Championship. The Clemson Tigers favored by 7.5 against the North Carolina Tar Heels. Oy, what a garbage game this is. The ACC exposed for the trash conference that it is. Man, I don't know. UNC's been garbage. Clemson's been garbage. I guess I'll go with Clemson. No, I'm going to go with UNC and Mac Brown. I don't like the hook. I think this game's a toss-up, so give me UNC in the points. Ty?
He shifted. Will he regret it later? We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think this game is a toss up, like Bobby said, but I think this line is pretty much a toss up. And I'm saying that because I actually did some research on this game. So both of these teams, unless I did my notes wrong and got sort of mixed up, but I believe both of these teams are 6-6 against the spread, which in my mind, a lot of people read into that like, oh, they're bad at putting it away, or oh, they're bad at whatever. But 6-6 against the spread doesn't mean you're 6-6. Like both of these teams are in their conference championship games. Like ultimately, if you're in a Power 5 conference and you just win every game that you're put in by like a point, you might still end up national champions. And at the minimum, you'll end up undefeated, and then you can just claim one like UCF does. So when I look at against the spread, all I'm looking at is how well does Vegas understand these teams? Like how well do the people making the lines? Because the lines ultimately are just for betting, right? Like if you win, you win. Doesn't matter if you covered or not. That doesn't affect your playoff chances. I know it goes into the debate, but with both these teams being just even against the spread throughout the year, I think that's how most teams should be, right? If the bookmakers know their job and know the teams, then the teams are ultimately most probably going to end up 500. You know, there's a probability of error either way things happen. So I think this line is a toss up. I'm going to go with Clemson because I feel like they just have that championship pedigree. That was not to zag Bobby. I mean, I have Clemson in my notes. That's who I was going with before, but give me the Clemson Tigers. They're going to be wearing their orange pants. I believe they wear orange pants, right? In championship games. And I think Dabo has created a good culture of really hyping up and making sure that his people don't sleep on games that matter. And Clemson has had a lot of sort of negative discussion towards them and where they are this year, and people thinking that they're maybe fallen off because Venables has left and because they haven't produced, but they haven't been producing offensively. It has not been a defensive problem as a whole. So I really like Clemson. I don't think they are gone yet, especially in the conference that they're in. So give me the Clemson Tigers to sort of clean up their record, clean up their resume. Obviously, it's not going to make a difference for playoffs or something, but I think they lock this one.
Blake?
Yeah, I love how Ty says Dabo's create a culture that gets Clemson up for big games, yet couldn't get up against their rival at home last week versus South Carolina. That was big yikes. But you know what's a little bit more bigger yikes? UNC lately, holy hell, losing against NC State, which NC State has just kind of they've been solid this year, but they've been struggling with injury. They have a pretty decent defense, which honestly kept them in this game, and then UNC losing to Scrappy Dogs, kind of a dumpster fire, not really, they've rattled off some wins, but like, you have Drake May, you have one of the best quarterbacks in college football, but yet, like UNC, they amass talent, don't know how to use it. I can't trust them here. I cannot. I think Clemson's corners are better than NC State, and NC State really clamped down on Drake May. I think Clemson's defense is way better. I don't trust DJU whatsoever, but I just want to think that there is a scenario out there where Clemson fans last year begging after they didn't make the conference title, Dabo, we gotta be winning ACC championships, like we gotta be winning them. In their minds, they're thinking, we win the ACC championship, that means we're automatically in the playoff. Not this year. And you know what's gonna happen after this game when Clemson wins? Dabo's gonna go to the podium, he's gonna be like, I told y'all I would win you ACC championships again, and look what I've done, I've delivered. And he's not gonna change his culture one bit, even though this culture is so bad. It's like offensive inbreeding what is happening in their quarterback room within their play calling. He won't bring any outside ideas. He only brings in people from the Clemson system. Don't be surprised if the change he makes is bringing back Jeff Scott or whoever from USF who was the Clemson offensive coordinator. I think Clemson is doomed for the future just because Dabo will not bring in new ideas because he has this idea that Clemson culture will put them through. It'll put them through for 10-2, 11-1 seasons in this ACC, of course, because the ACC is trash, but it's not going to win them championships like they were. They're not getting the good quarterback recruits. They're not getting good transfers. Dabo is set up to fail, but I need this domino to fall in order for that to happen, so give me Clemson -7.5.
All right, Jameson, you gonna make me Island Boy again?
Yeah, you're gonna regret saying Clemson. Oh no, never mind. I'm gonna go with Mac Brown. Those words just came out of your mouth. And I'll say to Blake's thing, Kate Klubnik was one of the best college recruits coming out of high school at the quarterback
But they're
position.
not playing them. That's the problem with
He-
the Clemson culture is
Oh,
you have guys
dude,
that are behind
he's gonna
them that
he's
are
gonna
way
start
better.
he's gonna start next year. DJU threw for 99 yards last week for South Carolina, and this
But
is a South Carolina
DJU was
team.
also a hype recruit. I'm just scared that they're not going to provide Klubnik with what he needs to excel because this offensive play calling has been anemic lately. Like Clemson offense is gross. Like that's why I don't even really want to watch this game just because I know what I'm
No.
going to see from the Clemson offense. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, DJU, there were arguments of him in high school of like him being a better quarterback than Bryce Young. They were like compared to each other being at rival high schools in California. It's crazy how much their lives have diverted. I'm just fading UNC here. I watched a lot of the game versus NC State because I picked them with my wild card. And there's just a lot of 3 and outs, just a lot of crappy play that I saw from them. NC State playing with their 3rd or 4th string quarterback and was dicing up their defense. I think Clemson can keep it strong on the ground and just control this game. And even if Drake May goes out and makes a couple of plays, which he will, he's talented enough to do that. I think Clemson just controls this game and wins by double digits. So, Bobby, I hope that you don't regret that.
We'll see how it goes. But let's move on to our next game. We've got the LSU Tigers who shot themselves in the foot at Kyle Field, lost to the Texas A&M Aggies, and are out of the college football playoff contention. And they're facing the Georgia Bulldogs minus 17.5 at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Jameson, how you feeling about this one?
Yeah, this one's really tough for me. I 17.5 is a lot of points. Georgia has been keeping it close within the spread as of recently. Didn't cover versus Kentucky, didn't cover versus Scrappy Dog Georgia Tech last week. I don't know where to go with this one. You would like to think LSU, with their talent they have, can at least, keep things a little bit close here. But that Texas A&M game really is just leaving a sour taste in my mouth. I just can't get over that. I just think I'm struggling with this one. I think LSU has enough talent to keep it close. I don't like this pick at all. I really don't. I'm going to pick LSU 17 and a half.
I think I'm just seeing the board clearly this week. Like, I'm feeling very confident about my picks. Bulldogs all the way. I think LSU, first thing, Jaden Daniels seen in a boot this week. That is super concerning for a quarterback that relies mostly on his legs in order to be any way effective versus any defense. And you're talking about a Georgia defense who's probably still one of the best in the nation. There's no way I'm not backing the Bulldogs with that Jaden Daniels news. That is concerning.
Shoot.
He is. That's why the line, I think it opened at like 14-15, has shot up. And like that's why I love Georgia here. They're businessmen. They come in, they get the job done, and I think especially in these big moments, Kirby's had a few stinkers this year, like going to Kentucky didn't do so hot. Mizzou game wasn't good, but I feel like this is just going to be LSU Tennessee and just Georgia kind of pounces on them early. LSU doesn't know how to claw back in, and it's just like the SEC West was a dumpster fire. And what you think LSU's good wins are versus Alabama, it's probably the worst Alabama team we've seen in a very long time. And like Florida, Ole Miss, I don't think is very good. Arkansas, I don't think is very good. It's a lot of wins against teams that you think are very good, but just really aren't that good this year. It's a typical Brian Kelly team, beat up on the teams you're supposed to win besides A&M, and you just kind of get blown out in these big spots. I keep telling y'all that. I know I said that versus Bama. They won, but I just think the moment is too big. Give me Georgia. Yeah,
It's totally Georgia. I should have done my damn research. Ugh.
You need.
I was cocky. I was cocky this week. I was like, I'm so far in the lead. Who cares? I mean, really, who cares anyways if I lose this pick? But still, it's Georgia. Damn. Okay, whatever.
Ty?
Yeah, I had what about Bama lined up. I thought Blake was going to use Blake's terminology, perjure himself there with this Brian Kelly slander. who maybe is a national championship winning coach. Maybe Notre Dame was the problem. Is Notre Dame a problem? More at News 10. But yeah, this line worries me. I think Georgia wins this one big. I will preface my entire statement with that. But 17 and a half, I mean, we're talking about 18 points to cover here. So if LSU scores 24, then Georgia would have to score 42 to lock in the cover there. And Georgia hasn't necessarily separated against quality opponents like that all year. I mean, 18 points is the line as of recording. Obviously, got to give our pitch to our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings. If you're creating a new account, please use promo code TPPN. It supports us directly through the network that we're a part of, supporting American small businesses. Shout out to DraftKings. But so this line might move. I would honestly expect this one because it's so high, even expecting a Georgia big win. I think this one, maybe as of the time that you're listening to it, might be a little bit lower on DraftKings or any other inferior sportsbook that is producing inferior sportsbook potassium. DraftKings #1 producer of sportsbook things. But I got to go with Georgia in this one, but 18 is a whole lot. I understand that we do this as sort of our bit, but I do understand that some of you guys that listen are maybe not listening for actual gambling advice. Although if you have, if you put even amount of money on everything, none of us have lost you money all year. So there is that. Can't say the same for all other media outlets and podcasts, but this one is high. But I would maybe, if you're looking at actually putting your hard-earned money on this, I think this one might go down a little bit throughout the week. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed on that. I'm going to take Georgia minus 17 and a half. Obviously, they would need 18 to cover, but this one is very, it's a hefty boy. It's large. It's a big chungus of a line.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Blake just saved himself, or not intentionally, but he is immune from the punishment.
That's what I was about.
Blake and Ty.
I was about to text out. There
Blake
we
and Ty.
go.
Blake and
yes,
Ty
I didn't think it was actually going to happen.
Blake and Ty picked lockstep with each other, meaning it is mathematically impossible for Blake to finish last.
Ty, what have you done?
I'm not going to lie.
Last.
No, so
I'm
I'm not worried about Blake. I was worried about me, right? I'm trying to play it cool in the text. I was worried about me. We all know how I do with eating-based punishment challenges, right? I'm the worst one of any one of us for that stuff. Like I have no concern in the world about how I finish as long as it's not last. And I'm actually gaming. You, Ty. Yeah, it's.
My stomach acid was churning.
Attention. Yeah.
Was churning. I thought.
Well, no. Wait.
I was at risk for this punishment. I was so scared. I cannot do this,
die.
and I was terrified. And then when I saw the possibility might happen, and Ty doing his little flip flop of 17 and a half's a lot of points. I'm like, just please do it. Please do it. Please do it.
I'm just trying. I'm trying to provide actual analysis. If God forbid someone is listening to me for their betting advice.
Yeah, no, you were safe when the second he picked Clemson, which is honestly a good pick. So
you ride with the crew.
It wasn't intentional.
Well, no, I like Bobby's the good thing strategy.
Is you ride with the crew. You're with me, strapped to me Saturday. We're gonna put Bobby in the dirt because that's who I want to see do the 999 challenge. We are driving that ship and we are dragging Bobby behind us.
No, we want a tie. We want to see Ty and Bobby do it. That's what we're cheering for.
Is that even possible?
Y'all.
Well,
because
at this point,
it still could happen, based on several picks, but
if it's an odd number of differences between y'all, all you need is one of those picks to push, which is very easy.
Okay.
There's
we currently have an odd
line
number,
in there, and if it's an even number, you just split them. It's very doable.
Yeah, but Bobby's got two dogs of picks with trying to fade USC.
Absolute dogs. Absolute dogs.
Anything is possible.
It hasn't played out yet. Anything is possible. Y'all are talking real confident.
See, at this point, Bobby has to pick LSU here.
And that's why
he's fully committed to go with a bold strategy. So
in Ty, I love your strategy because Ty's been confident in
My
his
strategy
picks.
is just to pick correctly. And my
He-
strategy
yes,
is just
the only
to do
thing
my
I
I
wasn't
homework.
like that.
confident
That's
in-
what I like. And all Bobby's analysis this entire time is like, I don't know. I have a feeling.
was
Ty's at least going with
gestuincy.
his brain. Bobby's just going
No.
a
See,
little
Blake,
whatever I'm feeling in the moment.
you're falling for it. You don't understand Bobby's mind games. Like Bobby plays that I'm just but a humble Southern attorney who does
Those
not
mind
know
games
any
have gotten him
better
in dead
than.
last. He's dead last.
Well,
His
no,
mind
he's
games
tied
aren't that
for la-
effective.
He's tied for last
Tied
with
for
me.
last.
So
He is dead last. That is, he is last.
in a
well,
tight
dead
competition.
last.
In a tight
Dead last
competition.
is a very firm, like you're all alone,
I could
rock bottom.
Here's the thing: I can still finish ahead of Blake, even though it won't really matter all that much. But I can still finish ahead of him. 2 doesn't do anything.
Go for it, Bobby.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No,
Blake,
it's
I do
Georgia.
want you to know because I don't think you listened to this week's Schooner Pod episode, but there was serious discussions on the pod and then elsewhere about Bobby and I colluding to just either ride together or die together, and either just like prearrange our picks to either just, hey, if we're going down together, or we're gonna make Blake pay. So, but I'm glad that we didn't go with that because Bobby, I don't know what his strategy is here this week.
I like the dogs. And in this case, I like the Bulldogs. Give me Georgia.
He likes the
look.
dogs. You heard it here first. He likes
Oh,
the hot
God.
dogs.
I
He's
walked
doomed
right. I
himself.
walked right into that one. I like Georgia here because look, this game means a lot to them. It's the SEC championship. Not only that, but if they win significantly, you tie up an essential home game in the college football playoff. They're not going to let that slip by. LSU is not a good team. As Blake said, they've been skating by on, just kind of underwhelming, sneaky wins. But I don't think they beat Georgia. Not in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. It used to be way more fun calling it the Georgia Dome, but whatever. So yeah, give me Georgia minus 17.5, especially with that the Daniels news for sure. So, anyways, let's move on to the game that we'll all be watching. College game day. Screw you, Paul Feinbaum. It's the Texas Christian TCU Horned Frogs and Hypnotoad, favored by 2.5, just right down the street, taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. Oh, Ty's put up a finger.
Bobby,
He is
before
trying
we
to
start, I understand you have the start here, but if you will, I do have something that I think should preface all of our picks here. I promise it does not interfere with you, Bobby. It is directly a personal attack at Blake. If you will permit me, because this is your time.
I permit.
Blake has been hedging all podcasts.
He
I have
has.
waited to call him out. He has been hedging with this. I went into the statistical analysis of whether or not two teams playing each other have a likelihood of being defeated the second time if they've already defeated the team. That was a hedge. That was a hedge for this game. TCU already defeated Kansas State, and Blake was worried. He dug into the analytics of this to try to figure out if they had a chance. And he's smart, right? Blake knows what he's doing. Don't let him fool you. He's smart. And he knew that he couldn't hedge right here. So he baked his hedge into his earlier picks, and he thought we wouldn't notice, but oh boy, did we notice. So Bobby, I yield you back your time with the preface to know that everything that Blake says will be TCU homer because he has already worked in his hedge. He is a sly little doggy, that Blake.
I just told the listeners some pertinent facts, which I thought would be useful for their gambling strategy come this weekend. There's nothing wrong with that. You gotta, whenever you're researching these picks, you gotta see all angles. You gotta know the empirical evidence. I want to know what the landscape is like. It's something we see time and time again, so I dug into it a little bit. So that's how I came to that conclusion. Nothing weird. It's nothing weird, but that's how I came to it.
Okay, there you go. All right, so I'll kick this thing off. Look, I think this is going to be a really good game. Obviously, Will Howard has shown ability against TCU in the past, in a kind of a backup role. As with preparation, I think he will actually do better. I think it's going to be a very, very good game, and it's hard to beat the same team twice. But at the same time, TCU, this is feeling
The
pretty
stats
Team
don't
of
show that.
Destiny stuff to me. It is though. It is kind of hard. It's showing Team of Destiny vibes to me though with TCU, and I feel like the Frogs they're disrespected. They're hearing the talk. They know that everyone wants them out of there, so they can put in Alabama or Ohio State or whoever. They're going to show up and put on a really good performance and beat Kansas State here. Give me TCU -2.5. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think the Frogs prevail in the end by 2.5. It'll be close. This line is pretty good, I think. But yeah, TCU. Ty?
Yeah, this one worries. So all bits. Well, it was not a bit. Like Blake, he didn't deny it, right? Like he knows what he's doing. He knows he can't be caught lying, but he gave you a very political answer, not denying the accusations. We can all read into that as we will. Once again, Blake trying to manipulate based on your own personal interpretation of what the definition of is. But this one worries me because I think there is high upset potential. I mean, K-State, you know this as OU fans, that's primarily our listener viewer demographic. They are villains. They're not good guys. They're villains. They're there to ruin your day, ruin your season. We all know this. I mean, I've been an OU student for a long time, as has Jameson for different reasons. And I can say that under my tenure as an OU student, we've only beaten them like once. We've lost a lot of times to them. They're bad guys, and they would have no qualms spoiling it for TCU. Here's my real take, and I've been saying this. This is mostly a joke, and I don't want this to come true. I'm on the Frog train. I love TCU this year, outside of that OU win, but it would be sickly so funny that, because we have to turn back the clock and do a quick history lesson here. The Big 12 went to their round robin thing. Everyone plays everyone, one true champion, all that stuff. And that ended up in TCU not getting a playoff nod in 2014. That was widely attributed to the fact that the Big 12 did not have a championship game for TCU to really settle the score against some people and put an exclamation point on things. So the Big 12 implemented everyone plays everyone and a championship game, which I've been saying for a long time is like the dumbest way to do it, because you're just saying, let's just try everything all at once and hopefully it turns out. So it would be sickly hilarious if TCU missed the playoffs because there was no championship game, and then the very game created specifically because of terrible things that happened to TCU also prevents them from getting in. So I think there's high potential of K-State winning, but I am on the Frog train. I believe they're a complete team. I mean, I can go on for probably as long as Blake, which is crazy, about why TCU deserves to be in the playoff, why TCU would be undefeated in the Big Ten, why TCU would be undefeated in the Pac, why TCU would be undefeated in the ACC, why TCU would be undefeated in the SEC.
Ooh.
In the SEC West this year, because of Bama, they'd probably lose to Georgia, and they would lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. But at TCU, I am so excited to see them matched up against a hopefully Michigan in the playoff. That would be cool. Or you never know how things pan out. Maybe USC, because we all know that the committee is just going to gamesmanship in the top four. They're going to put Georgia at one, and then they're just going to manipulate the other ones for storylines. Like I really think that in the playoff, like one means something, and then the other three, they're just manipulating for what do we think sells the best. But give me the Frogs -2.5 in this one. I think this one is not close if TCU wins. I think TCU either wins by like 2 scores, so say 10 points minimum, or K-State wins. I don't think there's a this game is close possibility. Give me the Frogs.
Like who you got?
But yep, easy. People have been asking me all week, what is TCU going to make the playoffs? What's going to happen there? TCU is going to make the playoffs because we're going to win this game. And that's the reason why we're going to make the playoffs. Not because of some mumbo-jumbo ESPN bullcrap of how we're going to get in there and how they have to weigh the resumes. We're not leaving it up to that. We're going to go in there and win this game. And I, for one, have been probably respected Kansas State the most out of anybody on this pod, even more than the Kansas State fan base, because whenever Will Howard came in, smoked.
No. You laughed at Bobby.
Hey, I give you your time. Give me my time.
You laughed at Bobby.
It's my turn. Okay.
Whenever Adrian Martinez went out in the TCU game, and Kansas State fans were crying everywhere, boo-hoo, you knocked out our starter. Yeah, Will Howard came in and ripped us apart, and I'm like, this guy's significantly better. But all Kansas State fans could clamor to is Adrian Martinez. When is Adrian Martinez going to come back? We would have beaten TCU if this, and this. They play a lot of what-if games over in Manhattan. We don't. We play wins and losses, and we're going to win this game. I think K-State's going to battle. They're going to be a hard out because I think Will Howard's a good quarterback. I think Deuce Vaughn is a really good running back, and I think Kansas State has a good defensive line that has been TCU's struggle. Like if we saw against Texas being the main one, Max Duggan could not get the ball off in that first half. But I do feel confident in the Frogs that it is a team of destiny. This is the perfect momentum in the sense that K-State and their fan base believes that they would have easily beaten us. Like they just need the rematch because this is easy win. If we would have had our quarterbacks, we would have beaten them in Fort Worth. They believe that in their heads. They don't have that chip on their shoulder like they're going after the Kings, and I like that. I like them feeling a little bit cocky going into this game. I think Frogs roll. I'm ready. I'm ready for this game. Biggest game of my life. I'm going to be there in person. I've had 3 of those recently. I'm on my 3rd. I'm on Texas being the first, Baylor at that one. It was worst game of my life, and now this one. The Shield matters to me. I don't care if we get to the playoff 12-1. That would be an awesome accomplishment. I want to win the Shield. I care about winning, having that trophy in my hands, celebrating it in Jerry's World. That's what matters. That is a complete season, not just a college football playoff, but the Big 12 trophy, the little crystal ball thing on the little stick in my hands. I want that. Give me TCU, Frogs. We're rolling. Come Saturday. Let's go.
It's pretty nice at TCU. Fan base is so small that everyone gets to touch the trophy. But if it's physically in your hands.
Yeah, and our little school's whooping ass this year. So what does that say about all the other ones?
No, I wasn't. I was just trying to make a funny joke. It's pretty good.
Oh
but,
God,
Jameson,
don't start the school size argument at Big Ten.
And Blake also has small hands. So
I do have small hands.
Football
will fill NFL size in my hands. Ooh, baby.
Oh man, Jameson, are you liking this?
Hey Bobby, would you like to respond to Blake being the biggest believer in Kansas State this year on the pod?
I mean,
I've been a truther. I'm not a Chris Kleiman stan like Bobby is, but I'm a truther about how good K-State is.
Well, Lance Leipold is the second best coach in the Big 12, Blake.
I forgot about the existence of. I did forget about the existence of Sonny Dykes. Dykes is the best coach in the Big 12 for real. Like he actually is.
I thought he was going to get. I thought he might have gotten poached by Auburn. That was scaring me for a little bit. I didn't want to put that one out in the ether, but it kind of scared me a little bit.
Welcome to the big game now, Blake. Dykes is gonna get. He's gonna get paid, man.
You gotta say TCU.
It could happen to you too. It happened to OU. It could happen to anyone.
You got to look at the fact that Gary Patterson was at TCU for as long as he was, as proof.
That's what I'm hoping for.
It's a survivable environment as a coach.
That's what
they
I'm
still
hoping
fired
for.
him. They still
or
fired him.
He deserved to get fired. This year showed that even if Sonny Dykes goes off and we have 3 winless seasons in a row and gets fired, it shows that we are at least right about firing Gary Patterson this year.
Have they already commissioned the Sonny Dykes statue?
Oh, probably. Dude, just add our little small statue collection. They are the smallest things ever. And Gary Patterson is skinnier than I am, and I know in person he's he's hefty dude. So commission the statue. We just gotta make this our brand, that we just have a billion small statues. Make one of Max Duggan too while you're at it.
Oh man, statues for every kind of minor success. I like it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it would be pretty cool. I know I'm personally rooting for the Frogs there. To join OU as the only Big 12 teams to make the playoff would be pretty cool. So, Jameson, who do you got in this?
If I pick Kansas State here, that means Blake and I would have 4 different picks, meaning he would have a chance if all of his picks if he goes essentially 10-0, or that's not how it works. If he goes 4-0 on the picks that we zigzagged versus each other, we could tie for the lead. Did we really want to tie for the lead, Blake? Do you really want that? Does that
I don't care. I want a TCU win. You sound like a little scared little boy right now. That
I'm
want
gonna
to
tell you.
man
I'm
up
telling you.
and defend
No.
your title. This is what you're sounding like. You're like, do you really
No,
want the
here-
tie? I'm just gonna choose TCU so we don't get that. Man up. Just
Well, but here's my thought process with it. Is I think Kansas State might win this game. I really
go
do.
for it then. Do it.
But the thing is,
Do it.
I don't
You're a
want to
scared
pick them
boy.
because
You're a scared
because
boy.
no, because here's the thing. Like I'm already in the lead, and I love cheering for TCU as like a secondary Big 12 team, and I don't want to have that deep down in me where I'm like having to cheer against them. It just doesn't seem right. So this isn't a hedge. This is just I want to enjoy this game on Saturday morning more. And I understand this might not be the best reasoning for making a pick, but I'm going to pick TCU just for the fan aspect of it. And this isn't some kind of analysis. I'm sorry, listeners, but I just think TCU is a fun team to cheer for, and I don't want to pick against them.
There you go. All in for the Hypno Toad here on the Schooner Pod. Good to see you.
So I've
it would be
solidified the
hilarious
lead.
if
W.
I used my reverse card right now. That would like give me a chance of getting the punishment just to like be able to tie Jameson because I still have my Uno reverse card in the back pocket.
Yes.
Yes,
you do.
made your own team. God, that would be so
Yes,
hurtful.
emotional hedge. The
Was not
ultimate
an
emotional hedge.
That would be doubly successful for Blake because it would also negate my entire calling him out on hedging. But
Blake, do it, honestly.
I'll let
It's
Blake
worth
I'll
the
let Blake
risk.
sit on it. I do need to note it does appear that Bobby and I are different on 5 games, unless I'm counting that wrong. So we will have not one true champion, maybe one true champion, depending on Blake's decision he's about to make.
No, we need Boise to win by a
We
field
will
goal.
have
That would be
we will have one
great.
true loser potentially in the Schooner Pod the weekend spread.
Yeah.
We need a hedge.
There
We
you
need a
go.
head. We need a push so bad.
We need a push so
hedge.
bad.
It's too late.
What are the other
Let's
lines that are they all half lines? That
USC,
oh no,
Utah
we
could
can
be a
get
push.
Purdue Michigan at 17.
And
There's
you
another number
and
for you.
Utah USC at 3. So there's
That would be
yes,
very-
baby. There's
That would be
plenty
the
of
most annoying.
opportunity.
That'd be
It
the
would
most
be
annoying route
so-
because it would mean that it was close to beat it to like flipping the table and actually winning something, but it just ended up as a push.
It would be so typical if Bobby and I won 1, Bobby won 1, and then we just had 3 pushes and then ended up.
It's probably
together.
going to be the most
That's
anticlimactic
the most
ending.
likely thing. Yeah, the way the season is gone, that's the most likely thing.
I will say this as the winner of the Schooner Pod Pick'em for the weekend spread, I will eat a couple of hot dogs and drink a couple of beers with one of you too. Whenever the time
God,
comes.
dude,
Well, that just
man of
sounds
the
like a
people.
good evening.
James,
I have a nice dog or two and a few beers. Cold ones.
if I
I'll
must,
join in.
I'll come eat a couple
Oh.
hot dogs, maybe have a beer or two at the game.
I will
with
not
you
use the
guys.
same time constraints that y'all are doing it, but I will partake in some of the utensils that y'all are using.
A couple
which is
of
nice.
housekeeping issues before we solidify who's our big loser of this honestly multi-month journey. Total games now have we picked 71 plus 63, 144 games now. Like that's crazy. But housekeeping, can they eat a hot dog? 2 hot dogs in the first inning, or do they have to eat 1 hot dog, 1 beer every single inning?
It's a dog per inning. Like I don't think you.
True
Well,
999. It's in the
That is
punishment.
not that is not how Barstool did it. And at the very beginning of the season, you guys said we're doing this because Barstool did it.
Is that why you said we did
I
it?
said
No,
Friday
I saw-
beers.
I
them
saw
do
the
it.
Friday
I saw the
Beers
Friday
and
Beers
Barstool
one.
both did just 9 innings was the time limit. I have not
Yeah.
seen. I can double check, but I watched the Friday Beers.
I like the paced out.
I watched
like the pace.
That was. I will say this is kind of coming in out of nowhere.
I don't
That
think it
it's
was.
now we clarify the rules after.
No, I thought we had already discussed this.
No.
but-
No,
So
we've
here's the
all-
thing. Here's the thing. Like just shoving 9 dogs, 9 beers in
Yeah.
yourself. That's fine. You're not going to feel the
Agreed.
pain. You're not going to feel the fullness until late. Like until you're done. If you're pacing it out, you're going to get full, and that's going to be the struggle part.
Good.
know,
I'm glad that we're on
Yeah,
the same
I
page.
think that's how I always saw it. That's how
Mm.
if I lost, I was gonna do that. Like I've always interpreted it as like that's why it's hard. Is you have to eat, like you have to sit there and feel everything and then eat again.
yeah, tearing through 9 dogs by the 3rd inning is not the same as like it's
Nope.
inning 8. I've eaten 8 hot dogs. I've drug on all the
Nope.
way through here,
Friday
and I
Beer's
have another
video
one.
to verify they do.
I watched it earlier. They did it.
No, I'm
There's
watching it
one
right
dude who
now. They say,
Yeah.
watch. I will show this on the pod. Probably copyright.
Yes, the way
they
they
talk about the end of the first inning. Someone has already eaten first inning.
Yeah, the guy ate vegan
First
dogs.
inning,
I don't
2
like the
dogs
way they did
in the
it. They
first
just
inning.
gave us.
Therefore, it is
they
not 1 per 1.
We're not.
That's
not,
how we're
that's
doing
their
it. That's
rules.
how
That's
I've
their
always
rules.
said
We're
it
doing
this
it our
entire
rules.
season.
We've always said 9
Yeah.
innings and 9. Yeah,
9
like,
dogs. That's the whole point. That's why every time somebody has explained the punishment when I'm around you, I say it's 9 innings, a dog, and a beer an inning. That's how it's always been. That's
No,
how
okay.
And
All right, you know what?
nobody's
You know what?
corrected me.
You know what?
Yeah.
Because I'm on the hot seat and because this is unlikely, let's just up the ante. It's 1 dog, 1 beer per inning. So if we go extra innings, extra dogs and beers.
Yes,
No.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
No.
yeah.
It's 999, not 999 plus whatever
No, because
happens
you
in the
guys
baseball
have changed.
game.
Every other person, if you go look
We
on
didn't-
YouTube, just does you have 9 innings to do this. And like it's not a matter of like, oh, it's 1 per 1. If we're gonna go 1 per 1, then let's tie it to innings. You just have to do 1 per inning.
Bobby, the chances of it going to extra innings is like next to
Low.
none. If anything, it's one.
Then why
with
does
how
it
they
matter?
No, then it's just do it. Agree to this so we can lock in the 999 structure.
If you have health insurance,
What?
it should not.
That's
it should be,
okay.
You know.
Here's the
this
thing.
is typical
This is a
Bobby
garbage argument
derailing
because
it
we
over like
no. This is why this is garbage because we made this after the picks, and Ty is like, "Oh, Bobby just made a bunch of garbage."
No, but
picks.
the entire
We're fucking
season,
extra dogs."
the entire season, I've been operating under the assumption that you have 9 innings to do it, which is a different thing than 1 per inning.
the chances of it going to extra innings
A time
is
limit
minuscule,
versus
Bobby.
pacing.
But it's
is a
going to be
different
the
thing.
one that it is. It does.
I
go
think
to extra
it's called a 999, not a 10. So I think if it does go to extras, that they shouldn't have to do extras.
It's already an absurd amount of beer and an absurd amount of hot dogs and an absurd amount of buns. Like it's still bad.
You're
like-
the 10th inning hits and you're like, crap, I have to do another round. It's just not going to happen. I guarantee
No.
everyone's going to back out.
Well,
It's
Jameson,
just not going to happen.
Jameson with his win locked up, he'll be like, "I'll have a 3rd hot dog and beer with you."
Or I have
I'm
mine
gonna-
locked up. Like
I'm
I
gonna
win
bring
not being
a-
last place.
I'm going to bring a nice crock pot full of some boiled hot dogs. And we might bring a microwave to find a plug-in somewhere for Ty if he needs some microwave dogs.
I think we bring out the griddle. Like I know we talked about the crock pot dogs, but like the griddle seems
Well,
nice.
then we can
I
bring
feel
out
like
the
there has
crock
to be
pot.
some rules of what you could bring into this berm area.
Yeah, time
I
out.
don't
They-
think there are.
Wheel in a
I've
generator.
I've absolutely brought in grills out to the berm.
Well, we
before.
have a generator, Blake. We have access to a generator.
We do have a
the
generator.
tailgate generator.
Shout out to the
This is gonna be
tailgate.
so obnoxious if we bring a whole ass grill because y'all won't.
A
Y'all care about the
generator.
taste of your
Bring-
dogs. Even after 3, you won't care. You won't.
Bringing
care.
your own hot dogs and stuff to like a
But-
left field lounge somewhere is obnoxious enough, but bringing out a generator, if we did that at OU, they are liable to actually call OUPD on us.
Whitman's out here talking about like bringing out like a crock pot for a chili cheese dog. I'm not adding chili onto my
Yeah,
dog.
hey, the Sonic
That would be
is walking
unbelievable.
distance from OU's baseball park. I think the loser should have to do 9-foot-long chili cheese conies.
No,
Ty's getting confident here.
he's getting too cocky about this one.
Okay, but to be fair, in my own defense, I'm not getting too cocky because when I thought we had to do the eat a hot dog every day of the week last year, I literally started out eating Sonic footlong chili cheese conies, and you guys were like, "Why are you doing that? That's
Because
insane."
you were just casually eating hot
Well,
dogs.
yeah, and you
on
just
camera.
I
No,
went
I
in on
actually
those
agree with
dogs.
Because-
Ty. That's way better. Like
because we did not clarify the rules.
Well, I thought the rules were always, I think, pretty clear.
No.
And that's why we're making some housekeeping issues right now, because it seems like not everyone was on the same page. So
And
I
now we
think
are on the same page. 9 dogs.
The vote was 3-1, and you have to eat a hot dog and drink a beer in the first 9 innings. And I think the extra innings,
But that's a
was
different thing. What you just said is a different thing than 1 per inning.
No, that is 1 per inning. One
No,
beer, 1 hot
Jameson
dog,
said
1 inning.
in the first 9
here,
innings.
we can argue the whatever, we'll split some hairs here, but it's already been
Semantics.
decided 3-1. That's the word I was looking for.
No, but
Thank
we
you.
have
It's already 3-1.
precedents.
There's nothing here for you to argue. I'm
There are
sorry.
precedents
that, but I'm-
established. It's
Not
The
even
tribe has
that, but
spoken.
I'm even arguing that like it is worse to do over 9 innings each. Each inning is a dog and a beer. And I'm probably the most likely one to get the punishment after all my dogs I picked. But
Hedge.
I mean, that's not a hedge. I'm
That's
just
not a
being honest.
hedge.
No, it's this
not a hedge.
loser mentality hedge that I've been seeing so much this year. Is everyone say,
Well,
"Oh, pity me, my fantasy football team is so
Oh my
bad.
goodness.
That's not
I'm
an
going to
pity me.
lose."
Oh, that's
my
not an
picks were so
pity
bad. I'm
me.
probably gonna lose.
No, that's not an
And then
pity
whenever
me. I'm
you
saying
do win,
statistically,
All right.
Jameson, I'm saying statistically, I've been against the grain on more picks. I'm saying it's more likely to happen.
Okay, gotcha. We probably
that's
should
what I mean.
shut up anyways. We've been
It's
rambling for too
been
long.
it's been 90 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Well, hey, thank you all so much for listening to Weekend Spread this entire season. It's been a really fun one. I think we've all done pretty well, and I hope we've been able to provide some fun banter along the way. So it's been a good show, a good season of picks, and hopefully this final week goes pretty well. All of these, usually the championship week gets pretty spicy. So on behalf of me, Jameson, Ty, and Boat Blake, this has been the Weekend Spread. We'll see you next time for some bowl picks. That's gonna be fun. So we'll detail that out a little bit later. So all right. Have a good weekend, everyone, and good luck.